right. Well, welcome everyone. We have a special guest. Today we have Malcolm in the building.
Pleasure to meet you.
His expertise has to do with a lot to do with banks, bank accounts and all that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, we're going to talk about, what he has done, how did he get there, right, in his career, and also in his personal life, how he formed his own criteria in his life, right, and how that had helped him develop into the person he is today. But today, don't think this is a uniform. We actually all came dressed up in black. We're men in black today without the Will Smith slapping. So we're not even, we don't go there. Always recording at Made in New Jersey restaurant. You guys got to check this place out, man. Lunch specials comes with your soup, your rice, and it comes with a beverage for only $12. Located in 614 Elizabeth Avenue, Elizabeth, New Jersey. Phone number if you want to, you want any deliveries, 908-242-5553. Check this place out. Genevieve, the owner, is like super cool, down to earth. This is the spot you need to eat lunch. So today, let's welcome our guest, Malcolm. Tell us a little bit about your journey into this banking career.
Okay. Well, once again, Malcolm Toussaint, pleasure to meet everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to show up on this podcast. And I'm just a young kid from Irvington, Haitian background. Always had financial troubles in the family moving up, and that's what really inspired me to get into banking, to understand finances and to really just have a more stable household when it comes to our way of life and living. So that's how I got into banking there. My father was really into education, and that's another reason I got into finance, because those student loans. Not even gonna lie to you. I saw the numbers, I was like, hell no, I'm not gonna be having this salary paying this much in student loans. That's not gonna work. So that's another reason. Just basically my background, how I got to where I am today.
Do you feel like people are well educated with their finances and how to save and invest? Do they know the difference when they come to you?
No, not at all. And that's actually the biggest thing and my biggest responsibility when it comes to what I do on a daily basis. Really, it's down to the schooling system. Honestly, not to point any fingers, of course, but we're not taught, and I know you've heard this a million times by now, but it's true. We're not taught how to manage our finances in school. We're not taught how to manage our money. And that's why I thank you, JP Morgan Chase, just to let you know where I'm at, for giving me the opportunity to not only give out education, but to educate myself. I'm not the best at financing, even with my experience and background. And that's just one of the biggest reasons and one of the main things that really helped me push to the path that I'm on today.
Yeah, I think the banking is that's really cool to go into that industry to learn about it, because I think that's one of the best ways. So you learn and you get paid for it.
Yes.
So that's the best way for it, right?
Have my cake and eat it too, believe me.
Yeah. So it's cool. You're expanding in that, and then you get to see how the industry works inside with the banking, because it's a business after all, right?
Yeah.
So they have their money, but they're also investing their money into other stuff. That's how the banking was. They're using they go into the stock market with your own money, with the money that you're putting in.
So why not they play that game? You can play it too.
Yeah.
Why not?
Opportunities opened up, and now it's kind of you can kind of do it individually now. Back then, I feel like you had to go through you had to have a middle person to get into the markets, get into the stock. But now it's kind of it just opened up with applications like Robinhood, Webull, all that. You kind of can do the same thing banking does. What do you find interesting? What was the first thing that you found interesting when you hopped into the banking industry?
Basically, what I find most interesting that's a good question, because there's a lot. But I would say just the fact that a lot of people aren't really aware of their finances, and a lot of people aren't really paying much attention because we're distracted. Our day-to-day, our jobs take up the most of our lives. So it's kind of easy to just sit and get a paycheck and then just pay off the bills and then just go about everything else from there. But it's really important. It's like your health, for example. You don't just go about self-medicating yourself, you go to a doctor, right? So it's kind of like, why not have essentially a doctor for your finances? Why would you not go to a professional to make sure that, or if not, you don't want to use a professional, why not get to know and get the education to understand how to make your money work for you, how to properly manage your funds, and not just put it on the back burner and say, hey, I'll put it tomorrow, and then, let's be honest, tomorrow never comes. So, it's just interesting that it's something that's so important to our lives, but people kind of just put it on the back burner and just leave it and put it off for later until, life happens. Accidents happen, sickness in families. So it's like, you need to be prepared for this stuff, because it's sunny today, but there's always going to be a rainy day. So it's just interesting to see that people, they'll take it seriously. You can see my customers, like, you miss $1 off of their withdrawal or deposit, they're like ready to storm through the bank. But when it comes to
kick down the door.
But when it comes to earning a decent yield on your funds, all of a sudden, I'll do that later. I'll do that. It's like, where's all that bravado when it was $1 missing? Like, it's just funny to see how people treat their finances.
That's interesting. I have a question for both of you. You mentioned something down the lines where you said people are not educated on their finances. And we can understand, like, there's a responsibility from everyone, even for yourself. But who do you think, when you're a child, is more responsible? The school, the parent? Who you think has to be more invested in that education when you're a kid?
That's a great question. I think it leans back to the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. So yeah, you can say it's the parents' responsibility, because at the end of the day, that's their child, that's their life. But you can also understand the fact that when it comes to the community, we all as a whole need to understand what's supposed to be done to manage our finances and to make sure everyone is educated in order to do so. And that is, once again, a great question there. I think it's everyone's responsibility, because when things fall in line, things don't go the way they're supposed to go, the whole community is going to be affected. Everyone's going to be impacted.
I think parents should be responsible for growth in finances, to have some kind of to try to push at least the growth, but also the mistakes that they took with the finances, like the back, don't do this, or do this with the finances, kind of like that. And then I think the schooling, the education should teach about the codes, finances, like what are the codes with taxes, what are the codes in certain laws with financial laws, right? Like different I think the law ones, the codes, all that, that could be something could be studied, but then the growth could be studied, but I think that should be pushed on the education. I think now education that's going to be made, but it's going to be an independent education from certain people. It's not going to be coming from the DOE. The DOE is not going to teach you how to grow money, because they're not doing the business sides of it, right? But independent organizations, independent agencies that maybe parents can put their kids into, that can teach them how to grow certain types of money. That's another level of financial education that might be coming soon for certain agencies. Maybe it might be an idea for somebody who's thinking about creating that financial education. So always stay in line with that, because that can help out a lot of people in a sense. But I think it should be a balance of family and DOE, at least with the codes. At least why am I paying? Well, what's on my W-2 forms, right? How do I pay? What's on the mortgages? What is those interest rates, etc. How do you pull back those interest rates, and how do you use them also? Because sometimes you can use them to an advantage. Sometimes you can use debt to your advantage.
Yes.
And then grow from debt, and it pays off from that. As long as it's growing, as long as you're not using it for liability purposes, like alcohol liability.
You mentioned something really interesting there, because, for example, most the behaviors, right, of people of low income normally have a mindset of saving, right? And that's the education that they got because they're always in survival mode, right? They're not looking into that I can build myself into more, because that's all they know, and they're exposed to that. And like you said, that community, that environment, right? That's what you see everywhere, right? And investment, like you said, the DOE, you're right, they're not in the business of perhaps educating you financially, but they are in charge of education, right? So financial education, like you said, maybe there needs to be some programs outside that connect with the DOE. Because think about it, you guys ever been to after school programs?
Yeah.
All right.
been
What
a
did they
long time
teach you?
for me.
Yeah, what did they teach you there?
Jesus Christ, what do they teach? That's a very good question. It's just extracurricular things, like a lot of art. Usually I see like a lot of arts and crafts and things like that. Like basically things to branch off of creativity. It's all well and good to be creative, but there are some other aspects of life that need to be tackled. Like, yeah, I can draw like Picasso, but if I can't manage my money, it's like, what is it? I can draw till my hands fall off. It's not going to do anything for me.
So it doesn't turn into anything practical later, right?
No.
So it's not like there's a retribution to learning that, right? So, but then again, you're talking about the IRS. They're experts in tax coding and all this stuff, right? And it seems like the IRS is only there to audit your money, right? That's it. It's like, what is their responsibility in terms of education? I wonder if they have like an educational program themselves for people on how to, like, for example, manage a business, right? Manage tax codes, because it seems like the elite, those that are fortunate with money, are the ones that can pay enough to have access to this information, right? That we don't have. Now, my next question is going to be within that realm, right? And you would talk about debt. Malcolm, walk us through what is a good debt, because people think that all debts are bad.
Yes, all debt is not bad. Let me just be the first to say that here. Yeah, when it comes, there are different ways in which you can leverage your debt. Like a lot of our folks out there who flip houses, for example. You get a mortgage, you do little things here and there, do renovations, and then what do? You flip the home and you sell it. That's a great example of good debt. Another example would be loan. Like, let's say it's a business loan or something to really help you expand and build upon your company. More employees, better building, better equipment. That is a good leverage of debt as well, because it's going to increase your income, increase your profits, and then you'll be able to grow and expand off of that there. So yeah, not every debt is bad debt, guys. I understand, especially with the credit cards too. That's bad debt. Don't do that with credit cards whatsoever. They will scrape you and kill you. But yeah, not all debt is bad debt. There are things and there are processes in which you can take in order to build off of the debt that you have. You can flip things and then you just pay it off, and then it's just cycle, rinse, and repeat from there.
It's also not your own money that you're risking, right?
Yeah, there's a term, OPM, other people's money.
Yep.
Yes.
And the term is there for a reason. But those people help you, right? Those people are like, essentially it's like saying, like with credit cards in a way, I kind of use credit cards to build my debt in a sense, like to sometimes to get my gear and to get all that without having to pay up front that much money. I can pay through the credit card, and it's like there's a minimal as well, and if you hit that minimal or plus, then it's like there's no interest. And I always go above it, so then my score always boosts up from there, because then I know, like, it will be made back during this time frame. I can pay it off with this, so I'm not going below the minimal. I'm always skying above it, and then after a while, it's ready to pay it off. Like I'm using kind of like other people's money for investment, and I think that's what America does that a lot too. Like I think there's an opportunity in our banking system here for investing in like the loans and credit cards, etc. and all that. Like that's really it's a interesting process, and I think my parents always used to tell me like don't get into debt. Make sure you can pay X, Y, and Z up front 3 times over before you get something. But sometimes it's like, if you see the potential in the future, like that debt will help you go upwards. Like that's kind of how I saw it in a sense. Like that's how I bought my gears, but then I also had like money on the back burner, so that because that was money I invested in, which then grew itself, and then I could take that money out that grew itself, put that into something else that will also grow itself.
Question for you guys. So you mentioned like looking for financial education, right? Meaning buying stocks, knowing where to invest your money, like never put your all your eggs in one basket, right? Because again, you go on YouTube, there's thousands of people talking about finances. Where were somebody with your knowledge go to find or get financial education for investment?
For investment, that's a very good question. Honestly, finding some sort of mentor. You can go into your local bank and just ask around, just form those connections, and you'll be surprised what one conversation and a cup of coffee could really do to help you with your financial education. It's just about knowing where to go, because like you said, there are thousands of videos on YouTube, but a lot of them are what they call quote unquote gurus.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to point out who's that and who's actually someone who can really help you out. But we have the greatest tool in the world right now in this day and age, and it's called the internet. And if you can just go on Google really quick and just look up some financial tips and guides, you'll be surprised at what you can really find to help you on your financial journey, to help you get to where you need to be. So yeah, it's just really just using the resources that are at hand and kind of doing a double check on the background of the people that you're asking for advice and tips. Because you don't want to ask some random schmuck on the street about finances just because he looks nice and he dresses in a nice suit. And then you come to find out you follow his advice and now you're in debt and you're scraping on by. So it's just about, knowing where to go, knowing where to look, and fact checking the information that you get.
That's a good point. Normally a lot of people that you don't think have the resources, they're quiet about it, but their bank is loaded, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it goes to that, it's cool. Like when you go to that financial education, the internet is always there, it's cool. But I wonder like, if there is that kind of, if there was a service, it's to say there was a service to do the financial education aspect, like who would that be? How do they build that service and to get that into the education, to get that into the sphere of just basically like the public education, like that, because there's like. No one really talks about it now. Like if you go to like private education, I haven't been to private education, but I'm assuming, right? I don't know, but I'm assuming that like if they have the money that's there, and their parents have the money that's there, right? They could be talking about money and teaching each other some type of money grades. And in the private education, when you're in the groups that also talk about the money, it's kind of a different type of money that we're talking that's there. Like it's a different type of growth in money that's there. So it's the education and that type of that money aspect. Mm-hmm. So I find that interesting.
This is a question. I'm actually curious about this. Right? You open a lot of bank accounts. Why should you have a corporate or a business account? When should you form one? When? Why?
Okay, so that's a good question. That's a troubling question because if I answer too in depth, I might get in trouble.
No.
Just to say that I don't have the licenses to speak on certain things, so I only keep it surface level just for the sake of keeping myself out of trouble. But just mainly for tax purposes. Because what happens if you mix the personal funds with business funds? You get scraped when it comes to taxes when you do that.
IRS comes down like a SWAT team.
They're coming to collect. Yes. So it's good when even when it's a side gig or a side hustle, whatever it is, if you can open up a small little LLC with whichever state you're comfortable with, do that. Because it's going to help you not only stay away from commingling funds, but it's also going to help you when it comes to growing a business. Because I deal with clients on a day-to-day basis, business clients. And it's just a terrible habit when they mix the business and the personal. Not even just because of commingling the funds, but just because the mindset isn't there. The business mindset isn't established. That's a very telltale sign of what's on their mind when it comes to their priorities and when it comes to their business. So a lot of people, when they compartmentalize their funds, it helps them get into a different mode. It helps them think, okay, this is the business, this is everything to do with the business there. And the more that they feed that mindset, the more that they go on the right path to managing their finances.
Interesting.
I have a question. So, how do you open up that LLC to then get into that business, to open up that business account? Like right now, my funds are commingled within like the wedding industry.
Kev, you playing a dangerous game, Kev?
I know.
You playing a dangerous game, man.
There's a lot of auditing on it.
Yo, the IRS right now is listening to this. They're like, send the team down there.
Yeah, right.
Was it made in NJ Empanadas? That guy? Okay, yeah, we're gonna see you soon. Don't worry.
Spread them against the wall, sir.
In December, I have to go through all of my things. I had to basically be my own accountant, and in December, I try to organize my spending, my thing. The digital age definitely helped out with that in a sense because they already had the spreadsheet that's there, like the track that was there beforehand. I only had to write it down and stuff. But that's gonna be one of my struggles. Something I want to prevent that is in 2025. So that's my 2025 thing I have to get out of the way. What are the steps and basics for the person to go through?
Okay, well, you actually alluded to one of the main steps there, and that's finding an account. That's one of the biggest things that you can do to help you out in that regard. But if you're someone who really doesn't want to pay the excessive fees, or if you want to be in the habit of managing your own funds completely, that's a healthy habit. I would push for that. QuickBooks is your best friend. I'm telling you, and this isn't, I'm not sponsored, of course. No, this is free promo. But QuickBooks will save your life, I promise you. They have a lot of different tools and gadgets and widgets that you can use to really help you be your own accountant, essentially. From there, you just stick to it, form the habits, and everything else will kind of fall in place from there. If not, then yeah, I harken back to just saying, just get an account. And once you get an account, the fees are going to be annoying, but you'll see. And a lot of things are getting an accountant, you kind of learn from them, kind of see what they do, so that, they're going to be pissed. But once you learn everything, you could branch out on your own and handle your own funds. But have an accountant for now when you're just up and coming, starting off, kind of see their habits, see what they do to help you out in managing your funds, and then you just take that knowledge and apply it to yourself.
Interesting. So you can definitely with time learn how to administer the accounting part too, right? And also these business accounts help you separate your goods from your personal goods, right? Because I think one of the hardest things is people, when they have a business, is learning how to pay themselves.
Yes.
Right? Yes. How do you see a lot of people knowing how to do this?
Not really. That's one of the things that I talk to them about when they open up these accounts with me, is essentially you want the checking account to be the operating funds. And I always recommend a savings account for two reasons. Number one, for just send some money to the side for taxes, so that when it comes time for you to pay your taxes, you have a whole savings account fully funded, ready to go. Second one is to separate the funds that you're going to pay yourself. And that's one of the main setups that I always recommend. Use that business savings account to send the money over to pay yourself. And then from there, you make the transfers wherever you need to send them to. But that's essentially it right there.
So the payroll is very important, guys, because normally for example, when you just start a business, right? I believe it's almost like the statistics, almost like 85% of business the first year really doesn't make much, or they actually go under.
Yes.
And it's understandable because you're putting yourself out there, right? And the importance to understand how much money did your business generate that year, because also makes you analyze what is it that you must do to start making money. What did you learn? What shortcuts you shouldn't take, because that's another common mistake, right? You just have a business, you want to take shortcuts, and right in there you just shoot yourself on the foot, right? And with the accounts, right, with the corporate account, or the business account. How, like, and we're going into like very, I would say, turbulent times with immigration, right? And there's a lot of people that don't have their legal documents to stay here. How could you help those individuals open a bank account?
So it really doesn't take much to open a bank account, at least at my institution. Another thing is that you don't need an ITIN or social to open up. That's a very big thing. A lot of people, they think that because they don't have certain papers or they don't have certain things, that they're not able to get started and get moving when it comes to their business. But that is not true. You really don't need much to open up an account. If you're not a U.S. citizen, essentially all we really need is just proof of address and, of course, your passport. And from there, sky's the limit. Now, on the immigration side of things, I don't know what consequences may come of that. I wish I had the know-how, but unfortunately I don't work in immigration. But at least on the banking end and the banking side, there really isn't much that you really need to get started with a business account. So just don't be discouraged for the lack of status or lack of this or that. That just get started. That first step means everything. All you have to do is take that first step. And once you do, everything else will fall in line as long as you're consistent and you keep working at it and not get discouraged.
And if they don't have a social, they can use their, what do you call it, the...
ITIN. Yes. Yes. You have ITIN number? You're just fine. No big deal. The other question I had was like,
and this is going into the realm of understanding like the business, the banking business. You've been working in this for quite a while. What do you see the future of banking is going to look like in the next 10 years?
Future of banking next 10 years going to be automated. As we all know, AI is really rampant right now. And that is definitely going to be what any company, not even just banks, are going to use to further their company and to cut costs. Because it's more convenient to have the AI system do what it has to do than to have, a whole payroll of different employees or what have you. So, that's a very great question. That's a great question. Yes, a lot more automation, guys. A lot more automation, especially in 10 years. Forget 10 years. In the next 5 years, I can see a rampant automation. But 10 years, Jesus Christ. I might have to.
Scary, right?
It's scary. I need to find a new job within the next 3 years.
Hopefully not.
AI. Yeah, hopefully not.
Business education, freelance services. You can do it.
No, seriously, I will be a financial consultant very quickly.
What are your thoughts about like how you think the banking is going to look in 5-10 years?
In 5-10 years, I think it's gonna like AI. It is gonna get a lot of automation. It's gonna be ups and downs from it. You kind of ask AI for like stock stuff, like
Stock prediction?
Yeah, stock prediction. Because stock predictions is just a lot of math. It's on the grid in a sense, and there's certain patterns that come through. So maybe like I haven't gotten to options yet, but I've been looking more and more into it. I'm gonna jump into it with the contracts soon. so that's gonna be like a little. It'll be fun to go through. It's gonna be like I might just start off with 100, see what's gonna build from there. Would I win? Would I lose? Don't know. But I might use AI just to help out as like a little tool to help predict like a little bit like where should I like put in and where should I come out. Where should I put it out?
So it seems like AI is going to take, it's going to revolutionize the way we bank, right, and invest financially. My only concern will be, and this is just like, I don't believe I'm afraid of AI. What I'm afraid is the human intention behind it, because whoever inputs the algorithms, right, there's a human behind that with a purpose to create a value somewhere for someone, right? So how will you guys feel about trusting the AI, knowing that there's a hidden human intention behind.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying before about background checking, looking into what's going on. Because there are some things that no matter what you do, AI is not going to be able to fix the problem. That's why a lot of jobs may still be around within 10 years from now. Because when it comes to an algorithm, some things will fall by the wayside, some things are going to go wrong because machines aren't perfect. There's glitches in systems every day. It's not a perfect thing at place. So yeah, it's going to be something that it just depends on how complex AI gets. And at that point, you want to go into the conspiracy theories from there. Hey,
let's go. Let's go into that loophole. I have my little hypothesis.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kebs.
I think there's somebody needs to combat AI with AI.
That AI war. The Terminator versus RoboCop or something like that.
That'll be the next big one. That'd be cool, like a digital war space. Like that is already happening there. Yeah, it's gonna be AI with the human intention. Trusting it is the in-out thing. Like, what is if the machine's learning and it's taking a lot of inputs and it can take like more inputs than ever before and learn from everybody's input, like ChatGPT. Like, how much did it learn from this many years, and like how many inputs did it get, right? And how many different intentions from each input was put in. Like, it started learning more and more from it. I wonder if like AI is gonna learn which one is like moral codes. Like moral codes, I think that's a spirit thing, right? But like in the algorithm, if someone's just inputting something and the machine is just learning, like what is that moral-based code that they put into a machine?
If they can even implement that, that's a whole different thing there.
Yep. What would be the ethics skill, right, for a machine? But this is my hypothesis, right? I do believe like automation is going to grow very quickly, and when that occurs, it will leave more payroll for human interaction. Like, for example, you don't have to. All you have to do is take care of the consumer when they come in, welcome them with a glass of champagne, coffee, whatever, chat, right, with them about life, as the AI is doing all the necessary steps of opening that account more seamlessly. And perhaps now you become more of a host, entertainer, than a operational, person in the building, right? Now there's more of that one-on-one. It's almost like when you walk into, have you guys ever purchased anything through a luxury retailer?
No.
All right, so if you ever done, right, you walk in and there's that one-on-one approach, and you get this person, man or woman, that look like a model, and that person is just tailored to help you, right? And they walk you through everything. They're more focused on how you feel than what they're selling, right? Because they know like whatever they sell is going to be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, right? So their focus is not the money, all right? Their focus is about the experience, and perhaps maybe that's where the banking system. And again, I'm not shouting. We don't do propaganda for anyone here, except for our beloved restaurant here, made in New Jersey. Check it out. But like, for example, there's banks that have open cafes. Right? I don't know if you guys noticed that, right? What are your thoughts about that? They open cafes where you walk in and it's like a deli.
Yeah, because they understand that no matter how far technology goes, people want to deal with people. And that is something that will never go away. Now, unless once again the AI gets really super complex and it's kind of like its own entity of itself or a person itself, that's scary territory. But until that happens, yeah, people want to deal with people. We don't want to just go, even in my experience, I've dealt with so many customers who it's like, hey, you could have just went to the ATM to do this. Hey, you could have just gone to online banking to do that. But they're like, no, they tell me straight to my face, hey, I want to deal with you. I want to work with a person. I don't want to go through a computer. I want an experience, because that's what life is all about. It's an experience and something you just want to experience. You don't want to just go ahead and just, hey, go online, blah, 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 and then I just bought this for da-da-da-da, and just move on about my business. That person-to-person connection, that experience is something that people thrive for, whereas human beings, we're social creatures. That is never going to change. That's never going to go away. So yeah, like I said, unless AI could be another person in of itself and kind of replicate those behaviors and those morals and ethics, that's something that could kind of save people their jobs, honestly.
It's interesting, right? Like, for example, I'm pretty sure that people that go more to and I'm taking a wild guess, that go more to a bank to get assistance are probably people from older generation that are not that tech savvy, right?
Yes.
Let's debunk the myth. Is that a fact?
That is a bit of a fact. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's true. No, it's definitely true. It's definitely true.
Why you think that older generation hasn't adapted to?
I think it's
The
just
new
because technology really moved way too fast. Because I'm 27 years old. I was born in the 90s. I was there when my dad had a beeper, and I was there when my dad had an iPhone. So it's kind of like within the last 30 or 20 some odd years, technology just flew past when it came to advancement. So I think that it was moving too fast for some people to catch up. And that's why a lot of the older generation are like, forget that online stuff, forget a username and password, I don't want to log into it. No, I'll just go in, do what I have to do, because that's all I really know. And I'm not willing to learn anything else because it's scary to get into something new like that. And it's really time consuming, and most of these people don't want to be bothered with that, to be honest.
What are your thoughts, Kebs?
It's like an endless. They used to envelope systems like that. That's something I got from my parents. All that we had envelopes, you know. So back then it wasn't like we could just go through bank accounts. We could make different kinds of savings accounts and put them in the savings accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have dedicated savings accounts for certain bills, or sometimes I compound them all into like one savings account, and then I have the other two for other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So. I think the online process is just so much easier now than it was back then. Like back then you had to just go through the bank, but I think they liked putting in to deposit a check, you had to go to the teller. Now you don't have to go to the teller. It's kind of like, you want to deposit a check, take out your phone, take a picture of it, and then it's right in the account. Check's done. Put it away in an envelope. You know.
And that's funny because that's been the last 20 years, right? You went from a teller down there, and you know what amazes me sometimes. And again, I get it, right? There's still people paying with money orders their rent, right? And we're talking about people that are 60 and above. About that range, because that's what they know, right? They haven't dived deep into how easy it is just telling your bank to cut a check to where you rent. But the evolution, right, of how, like you were just mentioning, you had to wait in line. I was, I'm 44 years old, right, and just waiting on the line. I remember it's like it took forever. Like if you had something to do at the bank, it was something you had to be like, damn, I'm gonna miss half day. Today, yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because on a Friday or payday, everyone was there, right?
Exactly.
Or when you had to take money out, right? You had to write the paper that the money you had to take out, give it to the teller would get, and then you had to write it on your checking account, how much you took, so you would know, because there was no access like there is today on your phone or computer where you can see what was your balance, and now you look at today, and then think about, like, that's why I was curious to see your perspective in the next years. What would that look like? Because we take for granted how much we progress from waiting 2 hours to an hour to
Jesus Christ.
like for example, now today you do that in 5 minutes or less, right? So that evolution, right, and brings the mindset that you need to be more privileged. Now, what do you think the clients of these banks, what would be their expectation? Because people today feel like it should be even more seamless. Like, for example, what are the normal complaints of people when they when they, they go to the bank? Like, what is the biggest thing they complain about?
Biggest thing they complain about is it's two things that they complain about, and it's kind of like a spectrum here. It's either things aren't advanced enough, or things are essentially too advanced. And it's once again back to what I was saying. On the too advanced side, people like to deal with people. People like the experience of going. I don't know why, but sitting in the bank for 2 hours is crazy though. Yeah. But people like the experience of going to the bank. It gives them a sense of purpose, essentially, to go into the bank and, hey, I'm going there to get this done, get that done, da, da, da. It gives them a sense of purpose. But on the other side of things, people are like, hey, I don't have time to go to the bank to sit there for 2 hours to go through this and that and that and this. Why isn't the system this advanced so that I can do this and get this done in 5, 3, or whatever such minutes? So people are just, it's really complex. It's kind of like a split between the older generation and the new. And some people are kind of in between, but it's like really two sides of a coin there. And
yeah, and now we're gonna go into deep waters right now, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing compromising to what you did, but one thing I do want you, like everyone, to be aware is that if you notice, every generation becomes less conservative, or the older generation is seen more conservative. Right, and we also have to remember what would the older generation exposed to. They were exposed to way less information than what you have today. Like, for example, you see, you guys have your grandparents alive?
Yeah.
Okay, so
he's visiting Puerto Rico right now. He's in the house. Yeah.
Let's go. And like, for example, if you, or any, like an uncle, right? Okay. And you notice that the way they view the world, you like, man, why are you so conservative, right? Mm-hmm. But think about this, right? 40, 50 years from now, you're going to be seen as that person that's conservative, right? And think about today, right? We have all these different ideologies about gender and origins and all these things that we need to be open-minded to, right? Mm-hmm. My question to you guys will be, what you believe is going to make you look like a dinosaur from the younger generation the next 20 years?
That's going to be tough, because it really depends on what happens within the time frame between now and 50 years from now. Because I don't know how advanced technology is going to be back then. Another thing is, me, myself, I'm going to be tapped in with younger generations to essentially learn and understand, because you have to adapt with the world. You can't be stuck in your times, because it's not that time anymore. You have to be able to understand that, hey, things are going to change. Things you have to keep up with said change. And that's just the kind of person I'm going to be when I'm old. So I'm going to look like a dinosaur, but I'm not going to act like it.
T-Rex arm. What are your thoughts, Kev?
I think when the time changes, it's going to be like the work is going to be a little bit different too. You're going to have the physical work, and then you're going to have the digital work, and then the digital work is going to be people like it's going to be like player one.
Ready Player One. Yeah, that's a great movie. That's a very good movie, man.
Right, and he was talking about something I think it's really coming. Like maybe like those digital like work like on the goggles is gonna be here soon. I think I'm gonna be like a dinosaur when I'm not wearing one of those glasses that have the AR, like virtual reality around. Like I'm not capturing Pokemon with my glasses. That's how different it's gonna be.
Oh man!
I'll be like, I called it on my phone before.
That's funny though. What I think is like, virtual reality. We're like transitioning from digital to virtual, right? My thoughts are more into like, what's going to happen to this corporate government we have, because we live in corporatism. Let's be real, right? Corporations, and again, I'm going to say this because I want to broaden the perspective of our audience. Mm-hmm. What is corporatism, right? Nothing against corporations, but they do make big donations to politicians, and these politicians create gates for corporations to operate and create monopolies, right? Because that's the job of corporatism, is to create monopolies, right? Capitalism is to have everyone compete in a free market, right? And then you have communism, that always leads to create leadership, or dictatorships in this case, right? They're extremes, right? The only one that is not so radical is the free market. It's like, if you're good at something, you're gonna flourish, right? My thought are this, right? Sometimes, if we have a lot of people, a lot of corporations governing the United States, what happens if people play the game of everyone opening an LLC? Now everyone is a corporation. Now you don't hire a person, you hire a corporation. Now you're in the system and you're playing their game. That's what, and again, I'm not an economist or an expert in this field, but I would love to see what the behavior will be if that happens. If, like, for example, where you work today, you're not Malcolm. You're Malcolm Consulting LLC, right? And now, because of your expertise, you get paid because of your expertise and what you demand or what you negotiate, and not, based on the market. What market? You're an independent corporation, right? You pay what you want to pay, right? And there's a negotiation between corporation and corporation, even though if it's just one person, but you're treated as a corporation. How would that look? And that's what I would like to see, because again, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Exactly.
What do you guys think about that?
It's funny that you say that, because being realistic, I think that's where things are kind of going to go, given that technology is really wrapping up and AI is being more rampant in our jobs, and they're taking a lot of positions that everyone is going to have to go down the route that you're saying. We're going to have to be our own some sort of independent contractors to provide services, because these jobs are being eaten up by all these machines and everything. So if I were to envision the future, that is most likely what I'm going to see in the future. A lot of people just being independent contractors, being their own self business, and just getting everything done and providing services via those means and creating sources of income via those means.
That's so interesting too, because when you have that LLC, that's somebody that, if they're trained at a young age, like that maybe that's like the next freelance, not the next educational service on financials. Like the next financial service is you become your own LLC, and then you go through the job market with your specialty in the LLC you learn, right? Like LLC is like kind of like, it's a niche service, and you're learning a niche, so you could build like the financial aspect on that certain niche that's there. That's going to be very interesting during that corporation, working with corporation, because it's so different when you're employed versus when you could kind of negotiate the contracts. Like if you, like for promotion's sake, now you can kind of negotiate the promotion based on the partnership, because now it's not like it's not on you're hired by it's not like you're hired by them anymore. It's kind of like that partnership
that partnership wraps it up very, very well. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And exactly, there will be no promotion. It's just a contract, right? That contract is, I'm going to provide this service for you. This is the guidelines from both parties. We agree. And then once that contract is over, you have the opportunity to renovate or not, right? But the good thing is, as you're providing this service, that's on your repertoire, right? That's now something that you can say, hey, I have done this service here, here, and here, right? Now that's going to give you more of, I would say, a prestige, right? But what I like the most is that you're able to negotiate what you believe is fair for your services, as opposed to accepting. But again, I repeat this because audience, listen to me. When you go into, let's say you're going to get a raise. There's this stupid, excuse my language, guys. There's this stupid comment that they always say. They always say, The market can only no siga. The market can offers up to 3%. Now let me ask you something. Do you really believe that there is a market inspector analyzing that 3%? No, it's not even a rule or a law. You can give, if you're a corporation, you can give. Think about this, right? You can give whatever you want to anyone, right? But my question is this: if you can do it for your CEO, even if you can give them nice bonuses, incentives, right? Right? And you have no problem doing this. But you have a problem giving it to those that make the theories practical. Why use the excuse of that 3%? That's what I don't get. Why do we have to be or try to be politically right? Be upfront. Hey, we just want to pay you this. That's it. It's better than lying that there's a 3% rule or up to 3% rule. How you guys feel about this?
I hate that 3% thing. Like when you're a hard worker at a job, right, and you're like a top performer, and then you're getting like 3% like base pay as kind of like the people that are also just performing, but they're not. Sometimes people don't even perform.
They're not driving the business, right?
No, they're not driving the business. Like, you're making the money for the business, right? You're making the money for that store. I wish like the pay could be like location based too. Like if like based on location, I think the location should get rewarded if they're providing more money to the corporation, the whole corporation as a whole, right? I think that section should get rewarded with a pay bump on all the contributing factors. The project managers on certain tasks, right? That got measured for profit. Like what can be measured can be managed with like money measured, managed, and then what can be managed can be scaled, and then from scaling that could be split from, because you already had the management down, you got the profit down, now you can go on the splits. Like it's gonna be easy to split from the performers that were there. Like you'll see like which performers could get like certain percentages. Like that's like a market analysis rather than being like, all right, average 3%, here you go, and everybody like.
Yeah, and it undermines your work, right? Because it's generalized. It's not subjective, right? It's just generalized. Do you guys feel like this is a fair way of retributing anyone's hard work?
I think that's a tough question because a lot of companies, they have a certain budget and their purpose and their objective is to be as cost effective as humanly possible. And what that comes with is the fact that if you open up the floodgates and you take away that 3% and say, hey, it's based off of what you provide here, there, and there, well, then it goes into subjective territory because one person might value this amount of work more than the other person. And if you open up the floodgates, now people are going to be expecting and asking for a whole lot of different crazy numbers when it comes to pay raises and increases in their, overall pay.
AI might help with measurement though, because you can measure it. Once you measure it, it's like you have that. It's like you have the measurements. So it's like math. Like math, you can't say it's not true. So it's like you kind of like say the truth from certain performances from certain people on the fields, right? Like what we had to do, memberships, stocking was like a lot of just like it was a lot of like tasks we had to track.
And to Kevin's point, there's really not a good way of, I would say, evaluating what one person is worth. This is why they generalize these things. Because if they really want it, right? Think about it. Again, I go back to comparing it within a corporate structure, the CEO. They measure him pretty well, right? They measure him and they are, very generous, right? The same way they also measure their investors. Right? They measure that. They understand what is their value, right? But when it comes to the regular Joe Schmo working, they make the most minimal investment, right? So my question to you guys is like, think about this. Think about like if, let's say you own a corporation, right? You guys own a corporation, and suddenly none of your workers appear, not one. What will you do? How important, how relevant that will be, and this is why I think corporations want automation to happen quickly. What are your thoughts on that?
Guys, it's going to be really interesting because if you don't have no workers, just like they just all leave. It's that strike. It's like, but then I think that's kind of you have to get all the people together because then it's going to be hard to get all the students together when they're like thinking about also the kids at home, a certain family member that needs certain medicines, a certain thing that goes on, like life goes on, right? So it kind of has to be that cohesive group that gets in there, like that's like what we did with the GameStop shorting like that. Like it has to be that cohesive group, that planned, it's kind of like a planned attack on the corporation to get them to realize their powers and the people. And the automation, it could be there. I remember Amazon was trying that once. I mean, like it was a big thing at one point. Never been to the shop, but like I haven't seen it really go on anymore as much. Like QR codes.
They got like a hybrid of people and machine and robots working together, right?
Yeah, it has to be like a service business, and that like with the luxury stores, can service the people more than the task itself. But like even with that, how is it? I wonder how it will be with like that automation, that robot on the side, kind of like Jarvis and Halo. With the automation and that service aspect. Yeah, I wonder how that's going to be.
What are your thoughts on Malcolm?
If no one shows up, they're just going to lean more towards automation. And it also depends on what kind of industry you're in. Like a service-based industry is going to be completely different from like a trucking industry. Trucking industry, no matter what you do, someone has to drive that truck. Now, if the truck drives itself, hey, then scary times once again. But it's just going to force corporations to lean more into automation. And that's going to decrease the jobs, and it's going to flip the job market on its head. And then we're going to lean towards the future that you were alluding to before, where everyone's sort of their own independent contractor, and we have our own expertise, and we're just going to have to open up our own businesses and essentially create some source of revenue and income for ourselves there.
And it's interesting, right? Because now if automation it's something that's, we're seeing its birth, right? And it's getting slowly there. And then what would I would say, what would politicians do to better or to bring balance? Because now, for example, let's say automation takes a lot of jobs, right? But it opens careers in engineering, in AI, deep learning, all these different more technological things that you are required in education, right? But let's think about this, right? You come from Irvington, right?
Yes.
I come from the Bronx. You come from Staten Island. Let's be real. There's there are low income areas where the education is not that good. The programs are not good as well. The chances of these poor sections to develop people into that industry are lower than Montclair, Englewood, right? They have the resources to send kids to the best schools after they finish their regular school. My question to you guys is like, what you think needs to be done from the government to help the transitional workers, manual workers, that automation is going to take over, and to educating them today. Actually, we should have educated them 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Right? But what do you think is their responsibility, and what you think they should do?
I think they should create programs just to help educate people on things of that matter. And I think if we're forced to go down that route, that the level of standard within the educational system is going to completely change. And they're going to have to rewrite the curriculum in these schools so that the younger generation will have the know-how and the knowledge to be able to get with the times, and to also have programs for people who are already way above the age to kind of catch up, in a sense, leaning back to what I was saying before. They have to catch up and to adapt to the times so that the economy will be supplemented and that everything will continue running the way that they need it to run.
What are your thoughts, kids?
I think the workers that are already there, they're gonna need to find some kind of like it might be like even like the hands-on physical tooling. Might be even like some maintenance work, like the jobs that aren't going to go away, that sometimes the automation or computer can't take over. And then I think some new lines of industries will come out because the automation filled in a certain spot. Like I think that opens up a new pathway for maybe a new creative industries to come out. Something I might think that might happen, optimistically, let's say more artists are able to come out, because a lot of artists come from low-income neighborhoods, and like Harlem, like a lot of artists are coming from over there, right? So we have like new ways to spread different kind of gifts that weren't seen before. Like imagine like streets don't look the same, right? Like if there's like different artworks that are around. I remember they did like a little project in one of the Spanish countries. They did a certain project where this one town wasn't painted with nothing, and there was a lot of crime, and then they added some paint and some color in there. The crime rate started going down.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like the power of art. Imagine that dragging in someone's for a customer experience within the business. Like you have to have a certain like art is an experience. Imagine bringing the artist into a shop to create a certain world like around that shop. Like more experience-oriented jobs are going to be out rather than the task jobs, and if people are like personality types, certain jobs, right? The personality types all like hands-on. There's jobs that are needed still that are hands-on. There's certain functions that aren't going to go away that computers can't take over. They can assist, but they can't take over on the certain hands-on jobs.
No, I do think that's a good point about artists, but there's going to be a disparity because, like, for example, if you're an artist and you want to create art and make money out of art, all right, and you're starting, you need to have some sort of investment. You need to have something that sustains you to create that business. And that's why a lot of people with low income don't have the opportunity to grow a business, because they're surviving. They're in survival mode, right? Living paycheck to paycheck, right? So the government has to try to create something that creates future pioneers, entrepreneurs, business owners, right? There needs to be a program that starts tailoring the next generation to think that way, right? Because guess what? The corporation that used to hire you requires a different level of education for you to get in, because all the manual work, like cashiering and all these different things, are not available anymore. They're non-existent. So now you need some sort of education. But also, if you don't want to go in that route of working for corporations in a corporate environment, we also have the choice where you have a local grant funding where you can grow your talent with your business. But that needs to be structured, right? Like I said, that needs to happen 10 years ago. Right? We're human beings are the worst when it comes to preventing anything. We're really bad. We don't have any good preventive mechanisms, right? And this is gonna dig me into this hole now, right? Because there's a lot. Like, for example, you go to social media today, and everyone seems to be an expert on it. On a lot of things.
Everything.
Right. Right. My question is, in the social media aspect, right? What do you think that's gonna look like? Again, in the near future. Let's not even go too far. 2 to 5 years from now.
2 to 5 years, social media. I think it's not going to really evolve much from where it is now, because it's already a pretty open platform now, where you can just get on, turn on a camera, and then just start talking about certain topics and educate people on certain things. I don't really think that's going to revolutionize itself that much, because I really think we're nearing its peak already. There might be little new features here and there, but I think we pretty much covered everything that we can do in the social media thing, or the social media aspect of things. I think it's just going to be a lot more educational, so it's going to need more educational focus than entertainment focus. Because right now, with social media, everyone kind of feels like a celebrity. Now, no one's a celebrity. So it's like everyone could just pick up a camera and feel like they're the best thing that's ever been since sliced bread. So I think it's just going to be a lot more people are going to be more educationally focused when it comes to social media and just getting information spread and put out there, which is what we need. Because we can't rely on the government to teach us certain things to get us to where we need to be. We kind of have to come together as a community to make sure everyone is up to speed and up to date so that we can all prosper as a human race, not to sound like a, conspiracy or anything like that. But
I think social media, it's so I think a lot of businesses are going to social media now. They all say like social media is like a little party, right? Or it's like a social party that just has a lot of things on it. So like it's gonna be a lot of, it's gonna be like that LLC. It's like each account's gonna be individualized to a certain like LLC or something like that. People are gonna spread out a certain word. They're gonna recognize like, oh, I could actually do something with this and get audience attention on a certain topic, certain niche, etc. I do a lot of videos, social media videos, content creation for different companies and all, and we do a lot of educational content. Like I tell them, hey, we need a plan on either, like we have three types of content we can create: educational, inspirational, or entertaining. So we have the EIE content that we can create from that, and then we also have complex and simple content. So there's like simple like education, like you could tell somebody like, oh, water is H2O, like simple stuff like that. But like when you got like complex education that says water is H2O, and then you have the H molecule to the 2 molecule to the 2 O molecules. So you can add like those different types of content in there. I think the most rewarded thing that's going to happen on social media is people bringing the premium content that's through. Even though some people like, it also depends on like what the users want on it, but a lot of users, like if you're gonna use like a free application, like sometimes you're gonna get like the mid type of content, but like if you're also gonna get a free application, you start putting premium content on there, like it's gonna attract people that want the premium service of the free education, free premium content. So like you could do something like that along it. It's gonna change. It's gonna become more social and business, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And social media has successfully connected and make the world smaller, right? And there's a lot of money in there. It's lucrative. Like if you expose something well enough, and it gains popularity, you're gonna bank. You're gonna start making money.
I bought something on TikTok shop. I bought the Action Bible. Oh, it's so great. Yeah, it's so awesome. Yeah, it's like a comic book Bible. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome.
I might have to check that out. That sounds dope.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Then
Action Bible.
Yeah, on TikTok. Check it out.
check it out, guys. To me, I think that like once we break through, because like again we're very digital. When we break through virtual, that's going to be quite an interesting social development. Just to keep, like for example, there's a chart that tells you how people used to date before, like 50 years from now, and most dating are done online. So it has evolved from parents, families. and all these different things, right? To school, that's where you used to date. Then you went to, work. That's where you met. But now most people are meeting in social media, right? And virtually. Now, imagine when things get virtual where, like, for example, there's a virtual room of myself with that person I'm meeting. How would that transcend in how we create and build relationship with one another?
I think it has to be more on, relationships are going to be more on, hopefully, right? Personality rather than looks, because maybe like in the virtual space, you're making your own look on virtual space. It's a big one. So they like to connect on personality. Like I do weddings a lot, and everybody's meeting on like some type of dating app, and they're getting married from there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's interesting, right? Like they found something that connected them in a way that they weren't gonna get connected before, like some kind of interest in each other, and like some they're gonna last because they connected on some kind of like personality.
I would love to see the data in the next 10 years of the divorce rates.
Oh, yeah, that's so true too.
Because
it's tapping, right?
Because think about this, right? When you write a profile, are you gonna trash talk yourself down?
No, of course.
Right? And if you go to a dating app, have you noticed what the opposite gender wants?
It's always what they think.
Or what they expose.
Yeah, it's always what they think, and then you see them in person, it's a whole different story. That is actually a pretty good point. It's scary to think about what relationships are going to be like and the divorce rates are going to be like, given that everything is going to further, lean more towards technology. But I don't know. That human element is something that probably will never go away. Because, social media is really just a highlight reel of your best moments, your best this, your best that. What about the lows? What about your faults? What about your defects? That's going to be exposed, and that's something that people are mindful of when they're going on the site. Like, yeah, she looks great, she's an Instagram baddie, da-da-da-da-da. But I wonder what her problems are. Like, what are her shortcomings?
Why is she 45, look hot, but is not in any relationship?
Exactly.
Right? Because that's J-Lo is a great example of that.
Oh,
like,
man.
J-Lo looks great. Nothing against you, J-Lo. I think, like I said, I respect. But, that's as hot as you can get, right? But things don't work out. There must be a reason to that it's unknown to us, right? And to your point, right, the exposure of who we really are matters more. And then this is another thing, guys. You know how, like, for example, they try to match your convictions, beliefs as much as you can with the other person, right? And that's just because that's what you expose, right? But that doesn't mean necessarily like things are going to work out. Just because, like, again, you're a Trump supporter and then this person is a Biden supporter doesn't mean you can't work things out. As a matter of fact, you can still love and be respectful of the other person's different opinion and belief system. I have seen very great relationships where a Christian and a Muslim has been married for 30 years.
It's an old saying, opposites attract.
Exactly. So to me, it's like, what defines a relationship? I don't think a algorithm can really match real expectations, because you still got to go through the experience, like you were saying, the human experience. What are your thoughts about that, Kevs? Like, do you really think that an algorithm, just because of what you write, based on what you write, and maybe the little things it knows about you, matches you with somebody else, do you believe that is the best way of building a relationship with a loving relationship?
Sometimes I don't think it's the best way, but then it's like the applications that are being used, they're based on people that have their similar interests. Like the interest in the application is for dating. Sometimes what people are using applications such as the interests are different than dating. Sometimes they just want a one night. And it's based on like Features and connecting.
That's a good point. That's a good point because you could say I'm Romeo. I'm going to bring flowers, and what your intention really is just to, just have
All she really wanted was just one night.
Exactly. Now my heart is broken. I can never recover. But
and that's the scary part. Ladies, watch out for that. Yeah.
but also the same thing happens with with guys, right?
The guys, they want something to go into a relationship. Next thing you know, it's like because the lady's on, and sometimes she knows that she's gonna get like the competition for her isn't as fierce because all the guys are really going after her, and it's like. What? So I think it makes it easier, and easy is not always best, right? Easy is not always best. Sometimes doing the hard thing, like actually walking up.
It sounds like The Notebook, the movie, man. You ever seen The Notebook?
A long time ago.
Yeah, man. That guy had to go through hell to get this girl, man.
Yeah, that's what it should be. It should be like, hey, you should try to go to her, get her attention, something like that, or be like. You gotta say your pickup line. You gotta try. Get rejected a couple of times. There's nothing wrong with getting rejected in the street a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like it's like trying and then like taking the easy is not always the best.
And just on that same topic, it's the same as when you're hiring somebody. They bring a resume that looks acceptable or great, and then when you put them into practice, you're like. The paper and the person totally different things, right?
Where's the paper? I want the paper.
Exactly. Where's this guy right here, right? So to the point, right? It's like to your point, that relationship building, the experience of getting to know the other person's good and bad, is what's going to determine if that's a good investment for your relationship or not, right? And it's funny because it guides me to this question, right? Building relationships. What do you think the relationship with like, for example, of consumers are going to be in that banking industry? Because like I said, we spoke about like, yeah, they're going to do cafes, but like how like would it be like a 24-hour service, virtual service? Is it a hologram chasing the consumer? Like I'm just thinking out loud. What
they better not do holograms. I swear to God.
You'll be like Star Wars, like looking all blurry. Yeah, that's funny. Star Wars has this intergalactic ships and has a blurry vision of somebody projected in a hologram.
I think it's just because it was just the 70s and that's the best technology they can come up with.
Hold on. It brings me to another point. All these like intergalactic, all these movies, right, about the future. Have you noticed like they got like Atari-looking computers?
Yeah. Like that's what the future likes to someone in the 70s. But what the future looks like to someone in 2024 is completely different.
Exactly. I was watching Aliens the other day. I was like, man, that radar looks like it's like a 1960s submarine radar.
Exactly.
So you're supposed to be like 500 years into the future.
You think that's what it looks like?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
So on those notes, what you think it's gonna look like?
Once again, it really depends on how complicated and how intricate AI becomes, and how far they can really stretch that when it comes to providing services. Because like technology, the sky's the limit, and we really don't know where that would lead us. I think only time will really tell us on that one.
I think it's gonna be pretty interesting. I like holograms a little bit too, a little hologram, but like little things. Maybe like a hologram at the house, like consulting, like right by I'll throw down this disc and. Hello, like that's how it's gonna be like
Amazon, those are ideas for Alexa, right?
Yeah, right. It's gonna be so cool. And then like distribution, like money in a sense, like figuring out like how that works. That's gonna be pretty cool. something that would be scary in a way would be when the government can tap into your accounts.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's gonna be the scary part. Like next thing you know, they're working with the bank to tap into that account because it's easier than ever. It's just a number, right, around in the matrix. So that we're working in the matrix, we're working in a digital graph, like on the digital sphere, right? The virtual sphere. When we hop into that too, it's like we're making that virtual graph into, we're expanding the dimension of the virtual graph now.
They'll probably have like holograms of with like very famous artists, right? I would choose Dave Chappelle to be my banker, man. Him telling funny jokes as I'm making a transaction. Don't do it. It's like something like that, you know. What I'm saying?
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Like that's kind of like what I would do if I'm in the banking industry. Choose the celebrities we have that we hired to walk you through your virtual journey, right? As you see a banker.
Mine's gonna be Al Pacino.
Oh yeah, Al Pacino.
Scarface
Oh
specifically.
my God.
You don't have any money, man. You're broke. Your funds are insufficient, man.
With the Cuban accent.
You broke as hell, man. That's gonna be
Go back
hilarious.
to Cuba. Yeah, but something down the lines like that, I would do, like try to hologram something that, it shows you have an exclusive touch with something, right? Because I think that's where they should be heading, exclusiveness, right?
Yeah.
That it's not only the one-on-one human interaction, but that exclusive experience of like, oh man, when I go to the bank, I get my Dave Chappelle hologram, right? Letting me know how, about stupid things he's seeing around the bank. Look at that lady. Like, he looks like a crackhead or something. He'll come down the line like that, But I think that would be kind of cool,
Yeah,
and
that would be cool. I'm not even gonna lie.
And the other thing I wanted to touch base with you guys was we just had elections, right? And we got Trump, getting a second term. Do you guys really feel that even if Harris won or Trump that won, you think they're really going to make a big difference in the economy of the regular people or the middle class?
Not really.
I don't think so. We have to
Not really.
focus on ourselves, building ourselves up. I think that's what the big focus is on, because what they're doing is the education that we don't have, the codes. They're changing certain codes, and that's what political is about. How do you change certain codes for certain groups? And that's what they're like. She was going to change certain codes too for certain groups, and that's that's basically what they're doing. And I don't think they're gonna have independent impact. Maybe it's gonna be subtle impacts. Like what he was saying, you bring energy from different ways, like maybe gas can go that's one of the impacts that can go through, and it could trickle down to the middle class, but it wouldn't be an independent impact. It's different type of impacts that go through.
And my thoughts on this are for example, there is no game plan to transition in terms of renewable. There's not really a good game plan to transition through, automation, which we spoke about. There is no real game plan on the investment of education. We can't even get healthcare to be free, right? And so that's the whole point. I don't mind paying more taxes if we're going to have free, you get healthcare no matter what, So to me, it's very clear that there's no priority towards giving the priority to the needs of the citizens.
Imagine if your tax went paying for somebody's their belief of a transitioning, that's your money paying for somebody's that could be that's damaging. I'm not trying to be in a certain way, but that's kind of damaging towards the society when reproduction is not there. We're going to lose workers, right? We're going to lose the next class of workers, the next class of geniuses. We're going to lose the next class of doctors and scientists, engineers. when reproduction isn't like in the process, and your tax money is going towards like male reproduction stuff. Like those, like that's an impact that's then for the grandkids are gonna have to clean up that mess. Like not even your kids, they're not maybe not even their kids, but their grandkids or their kids will have to clean up that mess because we're slowly diminishing the like the ethics.
I don't know. I feel like we were voting for the best of the worst. I don't know if you guys had that feeling too.
Oh, definitely. Honestly, I have that feeling every election. It's like, who's just the best of the worst? Like, let's just pick that. But I think that when it comes to these elections and getting these people in these certain chairs, that they really kind of just bring up points and talking points for their demographic, right? Like, Trump is a Republican. He appeals to what most of the red states want him to appeal to. Kamala, she's a Democrat. She's going to appeal to, the leftist ideology and all of that there. But I think that we're not really focused on the things that really matter. We're focused on the things that a lot of people are really talking about at the moment. And leaning back towards what you were saying before, setting off the mess, and it's kind of like a snowball effect so that the next generation can come clean it up. They pay the bill. And they have to take care of that. And a lot of these people, when they want to get these positions, they're trying to solve whatever gets them to where they want right now, not thinking about what the next generation has to deal with. So I think we have to think about not only the now, but also the future. We have to make sure that our children and their children have a sufficient future and a sufficient way of living, not just saying, hey, I want this right now for my sake, not caring about what the next generation has to deal with. That's not right. We can't do that.
Yeah, and to your point, right, and trying to think about the future is so important because, again, it's a preventive system, right? But we also have a big responsibility of always choosing between two political parties. And as a matter of fact, I was telling Kevin, I outreach to the Independent and the Libertarian Party, which are two unknown parties that
you wouldn't even know they existed.
Exactly, and you don't even know what their proposals are, and that is due to we vote religiously for two parties that consistently fight each other with the purpose of helping themselves than helping the country. But we're not opening the doors to these other parties, right, that could have a better the only issue is they don't get the big donations, right?
The support.
So we're going to bring somebody, and I actually outreach, hopefully they're listening, right? But I send them an email to invite one of they had a candidate for president to just hear their perspective of why people are not investigating enough about them. Because, again, definition of insanity. Doing the same thing, expecting different results, right?
Democrat, Republican,
exactly.
Democrat, Republican,
and
just back and
how
forth.
has that helped us in the last 50 years? Right. I'm not saying that we haven't done better, yes, but I do think that these political parties are very, I don't know, they're so focused on themselves that they forget who they serve. And maybe these other political parties that are not popular, they have hunger to really fulfill the need because they haven't never been in power. Because those in power are already corrupted, right? Power corrupts, let's be honest, right? If you think about this, right? If a lobbyist is in there giving you money, although it's legal, but you're taking that and you're servicing somebody else besides the people. Maybe these new parties have something way better to offer, and they're like, we don't need your money. Right. And the reason why we don't need the money is because we're here to serve the people, but we need to try to open that frontier. What do you guys think about, and how much you guys know about these political parties that are very unknown?
Oh, I was actually going to speak up on that. I know nothing about those other parties, and that's kind of a problem in of itself. They need to get some sort of exposure. They need to have their voices heard so that they can we can see just hear them out. Just see what they have to offer the country to see how they can best serve the people.
I agree, I haven't really heard about these political parties. Even when I was voting. Like I didn't, like even the other people, like the
You thought it was the janitor right there. It's like, who's this guy?
You see all these other names. I'm like, I saw Trump and Kamala. Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, right.
Is he there to clean the Oval Office or something? This is the maintenance crew right here. It's like, you don't, I don't even think they vote for themselves, right? They're like, it's like, oh man, I know I'm not gonna win.
Just to show that, you know.
Facts. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know certain stuff, right? For the political stuff, I don't know, it's so hard to like dive into the political education too. Like, so that's something they barely teach us in school. Like they teach us history, which is not really political education, but like even on that front, it's just more like I try to get as much education as I can coming from the horse, right? Coming from the horse itself, and then after that, it's like I didn't even know about those two parties. I barely know what politics even does for. Like I know it's like coding for certain cities, certain states, certain like all of that, and choosing like the certain politicians for that. But it's hard to focus on those things when it's focusing on building something here, maintaining something over here, surviving over here. Like it's hard to get to focus on those things and who's gonna represent them. That's the hard part. But then they always want to point fingers to whoever represents it either way. So it's like, hey, how do you even vote for whoever represents? Or where's the like the money is to broadcast, advertise, to basically get it to more eyes, audiences, etc. Their money is basically for marketing. That's what they do get all those donations for. Like how many people can you convince that like that's what the money like is for? That's what they do. Now, how does that small? I wonder how does that small independent party can? Because you need a wide vote. How can you do that for the? How can you do that to the United States? Like how do you do that without the money? Like social media, there's free stuff on that, but how do you make that go viral? But then there's adverts that they're paying for, so they're literally paying to be on the phone versus rather than publicly being on the phone.
But that's their challenge, right? Like this is what the Ethics Guild wants to do. We want to expose things that are uncommon, right? People don't understand because there's not a lot of exposure of that. So this is the reason why we're trying to reach out. We reached out to these political parties because we want to better understand what are their proposals, what is their culture, right? Why they have that ideology. Again, yes, money is very necessary to campaign, right? Because you need that. Nothing is free, but when you don't have money, you have to create clever ways to exactly. It shouldn't be a limitation because you got to figure out. I always say like the most successful businesses didn't have any major investments, right? So these political parties, there's the internet, right? TikTok. You know, maybe their way of campaigning has to be completely innovating.
They need to get like a young person who knows the know-how with social media to get them out there. I feel like well, hey, he's in some weird stuff right now. He's in some weird waters right now. Clear up your name first, and then
You don't want that bad rep.
Yeah, you don't want that bad rep.
You don't want that P. Diddy status.
Yeah, but yeah, that's actually a very good, besides, controversies aside, that's actually a pretty decent example of someone who has the know-how for social media to get these parties out there so that they can be heard. Because, like, do they even get a chance to speak? I don't. All you see is Trump Kamala. I've never seen anyone else on that podium give a speech.
At the debate, too.
At the debate, it's like, did they even get a chance to say anything? Like
they go like, and my plan, time is over.
Time is up. It's like
that's what your money did. Just gave you 2 seconds. Right?
Yeah.
That's as far as you go.
They need to just lower taxes, end of the line, and that's it.
Yeah. So hopefully we get a representative from these political parties in this chair, and we're able to expand, the knowledge of what it is to be there. I'm pretty sure it must be also very disappointing to like. It's almost like David and Goliath, right? But in this case,
Goliath is winning every time.
Yeah, Goliath is smashing you open every single time, right? So,
I think now they can combat it. The internet's here. There's like 20 years of like the internet being made, right? Now it's an evolutionary state where like there's different applications building up. I think if the political party was to win, they'll have to try to figure out ways where the public is now making content about themselves. Like I remember we were talking about a little bit about user-generated content, like the blue and red parties. They also had people making user-generated content, like people promoting for them. It's like, how do you get that? They just have to just go heavy on promotion, like just go heavy on it everywhere. That's how
And social media is free promo. As long as you get it out there, you go viral once. And that's it. You just capitalize off of that's all it takes. And you could just capitalize off of all that attention from there. It's just, they need someone to go on social media and just get them out there in whatever way possible. And from there, the sky's the limit. But
they should hire Del T's production. That's for sure. You know, I'll write the scripts. I'll figure out. I'll make funny commercials. Who doesn't love funny little advertisements?
That's why
right?
it's like they need to be, like what you were saying, innovative.
Contagious.
They need to be creative when it comes to getting their
They got to be
voices heard.
clever.
They do.
And it's funny because at Rutgers University, the Veterans Corner, I was talking about, like, for example, you can be intelligent and yet be foolish, right? So it's important to not only be intelligent, but to have experience, to be clever, to also be adaptable. So there's many things that integrate, that you have to integrate together to really become perseverant, right? And perseverance is just not a thought of determination. It's the understanding that you can fulfill these things, not only because you know how to do them, but you have the willpower, the mental power, the physical power, but also you understand that that's going to build you. That's going to create a muscle that you didn't have before. And that muscle is going to make you carry more, right? And when you carry more, guess what? Right? You start creating new paths, right? Because now you can go through that jungle that was completely unexplored. And that is what I do believe, that they need somebody with that mindset. Like, oh, nothing has been paved here. I'm going to get in that jungle and figure out what's in there so I can start, doing that. And to your point, all it takes is just one viral thing. Start doing it when there's no campaign. And I don't understand. If you're down, that's like, for example, in basketball, you only have 2 points, the other team has 100. You can't lose. You're already lost.
So now all of a sudden you start shooting 3-pointers.
Exactly.
It's like, it's too late, guys. What are you?
Start from now. Like, there's no campaign. Start voicing yourself now.
If anything, because a lot of people are dissatisfied with who got into the office, you should use that, leverage that, and get your voices heard from there. Once again, just use social media to your fullest advantage.
I'm not.
It's really interesting. If the independent party starts advertising there and starts talking about what is their next plan for the next, because it's 4 years. They can start building up 4 years of audience to then get that through for the next election. And even if they don't get the next election, now you have 4 years of audience learning about that new political party that's there. And they can still, it's about building it up, and it takes time, but then there's ways where you can just maybe there's an idea from that party that isn't introduced from party 1 and party 2, and there's 4 years of audience built up.
And also change the way you commercialize politics. You look at the commercials, right? They're one political party trashing the other, and vice versa. Right in there, if you don't open your eyes, you already know these parties are not there for unity, right? Create a new concept that is gonna wash off the ideology that you should talk trash about your opponent, right? Because again, if you start creating a culture where, look, This is my game plan. This is how I'm going to finance it with facts. Right? We're going into a world where facts are going to be exposed, right? Quickly, efficiently. Start from there. This is my plan. Yes, it's going to take 20 years. Don't say that it's going to take 4 years just to look good. Be honest, right? Most governments don't finish doing their project because they're long-term projects that can be finalized. I do believe that they're transparent because that's what's not out there. Sell what's not out there, right? I think that should be your selling point. Like, that's what makes me different than these two guys that are always battling themselves. Like, yeah, I don't care what they do because my what I want to do involves them. I can't be successful if they're not in with me, right? And now start portraying something different, because to me that's what real leadership is all about. It's like, yeah, you think different, cool, but how can I serve you regardless? What can I do for you? Because now, even though I'm the president, right, and I think this way, because I'm above you, I'm a public servant that needs to serve you regardless of your position. So what is it that I can do for you? All right, and let's make an agreement. You compromise and I'll compromise. It can't just be I take, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be some give involved as well.
Exactly. So on the final note, guys, before we finish the Ethics Guild episode today with Malcolm, with not knowing much about these political parties, the interesting thing is, elections in 4 years will be unknown politician, maybe AOC, which is, but again, I do think that AOC has a lot of great ideologies, but I would say there's a lot of growing still to be done in that realm, right? And also, this is what I believe: when a leader makes decisions to fulfill the ideologies of popularism, right, and accepts everything so they can remain popular, it will create damage later. So just because something is popular today doesn't mean it's right. And again, I go back to slavery. Slavery was legal and it was very popular, but it wasn't the right thing, and people had to fight for slavery to overcome slavery. The same thing with civil rights. It was legal for people, like, for example, like us, not to vote.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't the right thing to do, right? But it was legal. And the same thing is happening today. We're in this times where everything needs to be accepted. But what's wrong is wrong, what's right is right. Right? And with years, we like 20 years down the line, we will be like, damn, like, why didn't I make this unpopular decision? And that's my question. What unpopular decision you think is that we need to make today so it doesn't backfire on us in the next 10, 20 years?
Ooh, that's a scary question. I think, guys, don't kill me about this, but I think focusing so much on things like these, gender identities and all that stuff like that, not to sound like I'm against any of that, there's no problem with that, but it's the fact that we have way bigger issues going on right now. Most people are in debt. Most people can't even afford to buy a home these days. That is what's important. Not whoever you sleep with doesn't matter. Whatever you identify as, not to say it doesn't matter, but there are a lot more, it's just personal. There's a lot more economic things and political things that are more important than just things of that aspect. So I think we need to kind of shift our priorities a bit and kind of focus on the things that are really going to affect us long term. Because I step outside today, most people are not going to care about what I identify as. No one's going to care. Like, they're going to see a big black guy wearing all black today. Hey, he looks nice. It's cool as hell. Thanks. But it's like, most on your day-to-day basis, no one's going to care about that kind of stuff. What we really need to focus on is making sure that we can afford housing, making sure that people are well educated, making sure that our children don't get faced with problems that we started that we're not going to be around to fix. That's what's important.
Very good message. What about you, Kev?
That's might be a little bit controversial. I think it's like bring kids back to work. I think education can be found in work, right? Like there's a practical. Sometimes there's practical skills that are made. Like education made by John F. Was it John F. Kennedy? Who was that again? JP, who was that? But somebody made the education realm, but it was the whole point, they made education to create workers.
Industrial workers, they're in the Industrial Revolution.
Yep, to have them go on assembly lines, know when the clock goes off. It was a training. It was a training when you're young, like a PSYOP. It was a PSYOP training when you're young. So that when you're older, you follow these rules to et cetera. But then if you bring the kids back, those kids were actually working on certain stuff. Like at 8 years old, sometimes they'll be working in construction. That's now it's seen as bad thing, but it's a practical skill that they're learning. They're actually learning something that's out there with their hands in class, some personality. It depends on the kid's personality, of course, right? You're gonna have some the education realm needs to change around the kids. Have maybe some kids go out into the field if they're ready for the field, because some kids might like the field. Have some kids be in the lab. Have more of that mentoree-mentee education that goes rather than this is the book, this is the mentor, the book is the mentor.
Yeah.
We need that kind of
The SOP.
Yeah, literally. The book is the SOP. It's the SOP for the 40 plus years of their life.
Follow these steps and you will be successful. It's it doesn't work that way.
We need practical stuff, actual things. So I think education needs to change. I think education will change. It's radical, right? But have the education change from the mentor-mentee relationships, bring those kids back into the real world. Imagine what would that do for for kids that then become the adults of the next generation, to then they become the next scientists, engineers, they become the next politicians sometimes if th're welcomed into those spaces in a sense. So that would be interesting. It's not to say kid labor is bad. Don't abuse it. It's don't abuse kids' labor. It's have them come out to certain stuff. I mean, they're already doing laborious things at school.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. So what you mean is they have exposure to what a career could look like, right?
Yes, what a career could look like, and I remember I was watching people that go through homeschooling. They have different types of educations. There's just one education that is in homeschooling. If they have the opportunity, the opportunity is not for everybody when they're homeschooling, right? But if their opportunity is there, the education paths they can take are different, and one of them could be based on that specialized needs. I remember I was hearing the story where this one kid was learning how to weld. And within the welding, he learned math, the history. He learned basically the core elements of the education, but along the niche of welding. And then his daughter was fashion. So his daughter liked fashion, but then she learned the core basics on fashion, measurement, material types, history of fashion, etc., etc.
I honestly didn't even know that was a big gripe with having kids being more involved in the workplace. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that was a thing, actually.
I know, right? It's not really a thing, but I kind of liked it. I kind of liked it because I studied old photographs, old stuff when I was studying the fine art. I was studying those, and those kids were in the working class. They were working too. They were in a institution, and if they were in an institution, it was probably it was a different type, right? So it just had me interesting, and I remember we were talking about the World War II, veterans and stuff like that. Probably when they were kids, they were probably in the working class in a sense. They were probably already in the fields doing those stuff when they were probably younger. And I think maybe you could build a strong community with that, because now you have that 13-year-old mentoring the 7-year-old that's also walking through that 5-year-old through life, something like that. And then they have the adult mentors. Something. This mentoree type of things that go through.
That was the greatest generation. I've been fortunate to meet a few veterans from that era. Very unselfish, and one thing that made them great was their integrity. And I think that's what we need to form better in the future, integrity. And to do that, there's a education program of how to become an integral or a leader that understands that they are responsible for many people's lives. But at the same time, in order to do that, they must be conscious. And that integrity has to play a role in the decision making and risk taking they make in anything, politically, corporation-wise, business-wise, right? How do you start this whole thing? You need to have a leadership educational program, right? That teaches you from the baby steps of leadership, which is self-sufficiency, right? How can you be a leader if you don't have an identity, right? And we're not talking about gender identity. We're talking about, do you know yourself well enough to know who you're not and what path not to take because of your conviction, beliefs, origin, whatever, right? And then, and this is something I spoke about on the radio the other day. How do people know how to evolve from feedback into self-awareness? Right? There is no education on that. Right? At Forging Champions, we do offer that kind of education. And I'm not selling it. What I'm saying is, like, there needs to be knowledge of what it is to evolve with yourself every day. You know, how do you evaluate yourself? Think about this. Like, every day you go by, how do you evaluate your progress day to day? But then you expect a company to do it for you.
That's the thing. That's true, right there.
Start with yourself. There, with you. Notes. My progress this year. I thought this way and I acted this way, and for that my decisions were this.
That's actually great.
Right? Then if you have that evaluation sheet that you follow, you'll notice your progress, your maturity, your leadership style.
That's good.
Right? How you form your criteria. What makes you think the way you think? What makes you also understand your vulnerability? And there's certain vulnerabilities that you will never get good at, but you can always improve little by little, and that should be enough. And then you can be honest with somebody if you're building a relationship, right? Down the line. What I mean with this is, like, instead of saying, well, I have all these qualities, like, hey, I know myself well. This is what you're getting with me. Let them know the good and the bad, right? Right in there, right up front.
That's scary, man. You might turn that person away.
But that's what it is. But let them know that, right? But in all these years, what I notice is that I am adaptable. Mm-hmm. That I'm able to understand other people's perspectives, respect them, even if that doesn't play along me. I'm able to push to the side because I never walk a day in your shoes. Why should I judge your walk? My job is to, as a partner, is to love you, give you the best that I can. And these are my defects and these are all my virtues. When you are 100% sure of yourself, you're not afraid to expose your deficiencies, right? Your opportunities. And Instagram, for example, you go to my Instagram, I barely have any posts. I'm very secure of myself. I believe my happy moments are here, right? I feel them, I remember them well. And those that I have been able to experience, they also remember me. And that's the number to me. And again, I don't need to have a picture to resemble my lifestyle. I'm happy, even if I didn't have it. Why? Because I know that that's a requirement. Whatever I live, whatever I have to live, that's what I'm doing. Why I'm doing this for feedback. So, I don't know if you guys have any final words before we actually eat our lunch here. The smoke, right? Yeah, it smells good. So, any last words you both guys have to do before we finish our ethics bill episode?
And this one quote from Jim Ron. He said, some people are, I got your back and you got my back. Some people are like that. Jim Ron said, hey, he thought about it for a little bit and flipped it. I got my back from you. You have your back from me. That's a good. Right, and flip and say it's becoming more self-sufficient for that person. Because he was saying what happens when I become 10 times, if I become 10 times wiser, 10 times smarter, 10 times faster, how much better of a I do. And it's like, whoa, it's touch, right? It's like, it feels interesting, like, you know what, even in your relationship, make sure you have your back for that person, make sure that they are, that you have yourself for them, and have yourself for the other person. And when you could do that, there's vulnerability in that as well. And you open up and start saying, this is where I'm lacking. This is where it's coming down. And they could probably do a gap of that. But have your back for you, have their back for you, have your back for them, and they'll have their back for you. But now you got kind of back to back. Now it's kind of like that. But the interesting is we're full 360 now.
I think this is very productive on today's time. Thank you for having me guys. Let you know it's been a great experience with me. It's my very first spot. Let's go. First spot on the books. Thank you again. And one thing I really learned from this meeting is that we can't rely on the government to do certain things for us. We have to, as a community, set some guidelines, set some things in place to make sure that we have a sustainable society. And that's something that we all have to work on and come together to accomplish.
Definitely, and working on it. But that remark, those two remarks are, you know, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode and, you know, work on yourself before you do anything. Trust me, it's the best investment you can do. Something they'll see you next week. All right. Nice. Let's eat, man.